Well, where have you been? Well, the answer is I've been here, of course. I just had to take last week off. I'll tell you all about it in just a second. But I wanted to start out this episode by saying it's June 2nd, 2026. And that means it's primary day right here in California, if you happen to live in California like I do. Hopefully you've already voted by mail, which I already did, or voted early in person, which you could have done. You can't anymore. Now you're officially, this is the day. So today's the last day to vote in the primary here in California. It's also primary day in a couple other states, but for me, this one was important. I did already vote. So I'm very excited to say, woo, I'm participating in the democracy, because I talk about that a lot, don't I? Yeah, I should. Whew. Let's do it. Welcome back to Trent Takes On 2.0. I'm the Trent from the title of the show. Got a little bit different audio setup today. We'll see how it works out. We are back after a week off because last week was the first week of summer vacation for my kids. So they got out of school, Thursday, whatever it was, 20-something. And then we had the Memorial Day weekend where we had barbecues and fun with the friends and took advantage of the 3-day weekend. And then I went crazy and did something that I've been threatening to do for a year around the old house, and that is to actually clean up my kids' room. I have two daughters who are, one's middle school, one's elementary school, and they have too much stuff in their little tiny room. The wife and I bought a brand new dining room table, which is something that she really wanted. We'll get to that in just a second. And therefore we had a cute little coffee nook table that I decided I didn't want to get rid of. We're going to put it in the kids' room, which means I have to reassemble their bunk beds, which means I have to reimagine their entire room, which means I get to clean the entire thing. I got to go nuts in there. And that took up all week. It was crazy. It was not. I was foolish to even attempt it, but I did, and no one was seriously hurt. My calf muscle that I strained about a year and a half ago just continues to bother me. So when you see a professional athlete with that calf strain, those hurt and they suck and they never go away. It seems like it never goes away. Anyway, their room is done. Well, no, it's not done. It's reset. We still have to, make some determinations, do some more donations, and rehang some art on the walls. But all of that is pretty minor compared to what I had to do to get it to where it is. And the new dining room table is in place. We, the wife and I actually love just sitting around talking. We do this all the time. I recommend this for everybody. If you are in a relationship with another person, be it romantic or just friendship, just sitting down and talking to them, it really is how you strengthen that bond. Whether it's, my friend George across the street, we sit down, we do a podcast every once in a while. He has been so unbelievably busy. We haven't been able to get together for what feels like forever. Or your partner. It's good for you. It's actually good for you to do it with your kids, with your parents, with anyone that you happen to have any kind of relationship with. I don't know if I would do it with my boss a lot, but I'm just saying. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of sitting down and talking in an undistracted manner. Put the phone away. Don't turn on any TV. Just chat. Emily has wanted to just sit down and have dinner together at a table for ages. We're finally doing that again, and she's very, very happy. She's determined to turn our home, our residence, into a place that she loves to be. So it's all the little fine-tuning things now. I think this is the last large purchase we have to make. And now we get to really just kind of dial it in. all that said, that's what I've been up to. Busy. I've also been spending a lot of time with the kids. It's good for them. It's good for me. Keeps us young. They say it keeps you young. I don't know about that. It does make me feel better. I like that part. It's nice. They stay up too late during the summer and they wake up too late during the summer and their days are shorter and then they complain that they don't get to do enough, and you know how it is. I'm going to teach them how to bowl this summer. Bowling. I come from a bowling family. I grew up in a bowling alley. It was the thing to do in rural Oklahoma in the 80s. That was what we did. And so I grew up there. My parents would take me to the bowling alley with them on league nights. We had mixed doubles league where my mom and dad were partners. We had women's league where my mom and my aunt were partners. We had a women's team night where my mom and my aunt had paired with two other ladies. And then there was my dad's night. Dad's solo night, youngins didn't get to go. Even though really what I did was I would go play arcade games and, I could buy them cigarettes out of the vending machine if they needed them. But I found a place to teach my kids how to bowl at a, reasonable rate. So we're going to do that this summer. I'm very excited about that. My mom was an instructor. She passed away several years ago. She was an instructor, a bowling instructor. She has instructed in years, decades. And my grandfather, her dad, is in the Oklahoma Bowling Hall of Fame, which is a real thing, and as an instructor and league organizer. But he loved bowling. So we all knew how to bowl properly. I'm looking forward to handing that down to my kids, and that's a nice thing. So, what are we going to take on this week? Where do you even start? The world is it's a crazy ass place. And sometimes we end up with leaders that are, I don't know how to properly phrase this. Because there are times when the English language, with its myriad of options, as far as choose the right word to describe the situation, sometimes knowing all the words in the English language isn't enough. Sometimes we choose leaders that are just not right. They're not correct for any number of reasons. It's just, sometimes we engage in a good old-fashioned game of fuckery on ourselves. And Donald Trump somehow got elected and won the popular vote in 2024. And it still blows my mind that people had completely memory hold why he lost the 2020 election. His utter failure to deal with a crisis. COVID-19 was a crisis. It is a difficult thing to deal with a pandemic, without question. But they basically bungled that in every single possible way. It was such a disastrous response. It was unsure, unsteady, back and forth. Like, they couldn't stick to a message. I remember him standing there on April, whatever it was, 2nd, 3rd, saying it'll be gone in 2 weeks. People are still getting COVID. Over 1 million Americans died in total. I believe it's over 1 million. It was a lot. I remember it when it hit 800,000 and thinking, jeez, what have we done? Our response to COVID was bad across the board. And he paid for that with his presidency. He was not reelected. And then, after he got his ass kicked in the 2020 election, he had the fucking audacity to bring a bunch of his most fervent supporters to the Capitol and turn them loose on it after riling them up at a speech. And those people attempted to overturn an election, to keep the results of an election from being certified, therefore keeping Donald Trump in power forever. Or for longer, I guess. And we allowed all that to just kind of like slide under the bridge, and we're just going to ignore that all that happened. Because 4 years later in 2024, this unholy monstrosity was revisited upon us while promising a campaign of retribution against his perceived enemies. And it happened. And it was not, he keeps saying it was a landslide. It was a fucking squeaker of an election. The number one Google search on election day in 2024 was, is Joe Biden running for president? The answer was no. He had been forced to drop out after a disastrous debate performance where he looked old and feeble. And the Democratic Party, rather than have any sort of, well, they didn't have time for one. They didn't have time for a process. So they just inserted Kamala Harris, who had to run defending the Biden administration's policies as an incumbent while not actually being the incumbent. And it didn't work. They made mistakes in the 107-day campaign. They ran far too close with Liz Cheney and spurned the base. They tried to get disaffected Republicans instead of turning out progressives. They ignored the fact that their Israel policy was a disaster and allowing Netanyahu to it's a genocide, to commit genocide on the Palestinian people who live within the borders there in retaliation for a horrible terrorist attack. Yes, but that's still, come on, man. Are we still, and it's still ongoing. It is, hindsight's 2020. Sure. But the thing about conviction, is it an airplane flying surprisingly low? The thing about conviction, the thing about having something that you really believe in, is you don't have to apologize for it. You don't have to dance around it. You just live it. You just be in the moment. It's why Bernie Sanders was so effective in 2016. You know? The working class has fallen behind in income inequality and wealth inequality, had created two different Americas. And we needed an America that worked for everybody and not for just the richest among us. That message was simple, man. It was simple. It was nonpartisan. It was straightforward. It appealed to everyone who had struggled at any point in their life, who said, you know what? Why the hell am I struggling so hard? Why the hell are my student loans so fucking out of control? Why the hell is my rent so high? Why am I never going to be able to afford a house? Why does my job not pay enough? Those are good questions. Good questions that people wanted answers to. Donald Trump promised that he alone could fix stuff. And then he didn't. You know, that's his jam. He's a salesman, and not a good salesman. Sure, he gets you to buy the thing, which is, you know, what the people who are selling stuff say makes you a good salesman. But a good salesman gets return customers who are happy with their purchases. Now, if you consider the cult that follows him around happy because what he does is own the libs, well, okay, sure. I get that. It doesn't really do anything for them. I guess it makes them happy, or it allows them to continue to be miserable and miserable for a reason, and that makes them happy-ish. They don't even know what happiness is anymore. Gas prices are up over 50% since the end of February, when Donald Trump started a war that would be over in a couple days. And then he amended that to 4 or 5 weeks. It's now June. The 4 or 5 weeks have come and gone 3 times over. All of March, all of April, all of May have passed. And we're still in a war in Iran. Yes, they're still blowing stuff up. There is no ceasefire. There is no agreement. And Donald Trump has announced, even on CNBC this weekend, he doesn't care. Doesn't care that the negotiations have broken down. Doesn't care that they're not going anywhere. He said they were getting boring anyway. He doesn't care that you're paying 50 odd % more in gasoline costs, fuel costs. He doesn't care that it's a huge inflation driver when energy prices go up. He doesn't care that the cost of fertilizer has increased 50%. He doesn't care that food costs are going up at the highest rate in generations. He doesn't care. Because that's not what he sold you. Well, it's not what he remembers selling you. It is what he sold you. He was going to bring down prices on day one. He was never going to get us into a forever war. Donald Trump could fix it. That was what he sold you. Now, what he believes he sold you was his campaign of retribution, which he continues on unabated. There are tons of things happening politically. So many, in fact. This was, you may not remember Steve Bannon from season 1 of the Trump Show, but Steve Bannon was arguably the political advisor that got him elected, because Steve Bannon had his thumb on the pulse of the Republican base, which was an angry, xenophobic, racist, poor, uneducated group. And if you don't agree with any of that shit, I don't know what to fucking tell you. But if you believe that the 1% of our population that is undocumented immigrants are the reason that you're struggling, you're out of your damn mind. If you believe that the 1% of our nation that is, it's actually far less than 1%, but the less than 1% of our nation that is transgender is the reason that you're struggling, you're out of your mind. You're angry about the wrong 1%. Your paycheck is small because the person who signs it on the bottom right corner has decided to give you a small paycheck. They have decided not to allow you to unionize, not to allow you to collectively bargain. They have decided to cut your, let's just say the oligarchs have decided to cut your benefits to make sure that you can't get a quality education, that you can't get quality health care, that you can't get social services. You're wrong. You're mad at the wrong 1%. If you think immigrants or trans kids are the problem in this country. It's really straightforward, isn't it? You had it right. You were angry that you weren't getting ahead. That part you should be angry about. But you were wrong when you listened to them when they told you who to believe. I brought up Steve Bannon because Steve Bannon's motto, the plan, was, and I quote, flood the zone with bullshit. Or I don't know if it was bullshit or just shit. It was shit. Flood the zone with shit. Flood the zone. And that's what they do. They still do it. They're still doing it. Every day, it's flooding the zone. I talk about it as arson. They're arsonists that just have to set another fire to distract you. The problem is every fire needs to be just a little bit bigger so that we make sure that it gets your attention. That's why the Iran war started. It's a big old fat distraction from all the other shit that they've done wrong. All the other fires that they've started. Donald Trump is robbing this country fucking blind. And his kids and their buddies. They're insider trading. They're getting illegal no-bid contracts. Are you kidding me? Trump's fucking pool guy is making out like a bandit. Charging us $13 million to repaint and stucco the reflecting pool, which will no longer reflect. Take that, smart people. The war on expertise is being won because the zone is flooded with shit. The American people aren't stupid in general. They're just stuck in survival mode. I know. I grew up in survival mode. I lived in survival mode. You know those people who can't afford a $400 emergency that they talk about all the time? 40% of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. So if your car breaks down and it costs $400, you're fucked. You got to live without a car? You have a medical emergency. You got to just sell everything you own just to pay the bills? You got to declare bankruptcy over a couple $1,000 in debt? It's survival mode. You're just trying to get one foot in front of the other. Make sure that you show up to work on time. Do as good a job as you can and hope that somebody takes pity on you. Gives you a raise. Can't collectively bargain. You can't organize a union. Can't find a union to join. Because the other 1%, the richest 1%, are doing everything they can to make sure that you can't. We are still a democracy, though. Still. I mean, there are forces at play that want to change that. But here on primary day in California, I voted. Actually, voted by mail, and not today, but they have my vote in their hands. I got a text message from our Secretary of State who runs the elections here. And they have my ballot, and it is being counted. And we are good to go. So it is still a democracy, at least parts of it. There's a lot of fuckery going on in places like Alabama and Louisiana and Tennessee. Places like Missouri and Mississippi and Florida, where they're trying to do everything they can to fuck around and make sure that the only people that vote are the people that they want voting. People that will vote for them, the status quo. America is not stupid. We're hurting. And we have been for a really long time. And Donald Trump and his buddies tapped into that pain to get power. And when they got their power, what did they do with it? Abuse and corruption. Remember episode 1 or season 1 when he talked about draining the swamp? And then he made DC more corrupt than it had ever been before. And now he's back, and he's made the first version of Donald Trump as president look like Sunday morning prayer hour by comparison. There's so much corruption and abuse going on right now. It is mind-blowing. Oh, man. If you listen to this podcast, chances are you pay attention. Chances are you listen to other podcasts that talk about similar things. Maybe a little less of what Trent does with his home decor. But the political stuff, the things that are happening in this world. And the mainstream media has totally fallen on their ass. Totally fallen on their ass by not making these. I remember the Monica Lewinsky impeachment and that shit. Holy crap. That was covered wall to wall like it was the only fucking thing happening. Mainstream media used to behave totally different when you fucked up. Donald Trump fucks up so much, and the mainstream media just ignores it. The fact that they can't fucking deal with this Iran war, holy shit. We should be talking about that 6 hours a day. Barely gets discussed. The behavior of this man, this mad king. Have you seen the videos, the photos of what he's doing at the White House with the entire East Wing demolished and torn out, and now they're building bunkers and shit in the open like fucking morons? None of this was fucking planned. They don't even have architectural designs that have been approved. It's all just shit. And they built this giant outdoor monstrosity on the south fucking lawn where they're going to hold MMA fights. In the middle of summer in DC. All the best MMA fighters have been like, I'm not fucking fighting in that. That's crazy. Yeah? Well, you could fucking die fighting in 100-degree heat. Just look at the guy's priorities. Just look at his priorities, and it tells you everything you really need to know. Doesn't it? I want to ask you a couple questions. What happened? Because we need to know what happened. What happened to Doge checks? What happened to? We're going to find all of the abuse, waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, and we're going to find so much of it. We're going to be able to send out refund checks to everyone. This was the promise from the very beginning of this 2025-6 presidency so far. The Doge. The Department of Government Efficiency. Do you remember those fuckers led by Elon Musk? Remember how they were going to send us checks? Remember how they were going to find all that waste, fraud, and abuse? And all they ended up doing was taking food away from starving children and medicine away from sick children. And they fired a whole bunch of people that they later had to rehire. And the deficit has increased astronomically. Like, they created a whole bunch of waste, fraud, and abuse, and you never got your Doge checks. What about the tariffs that were going to make us all rich? What about the tariffs that were going to pay off the debt and the deficit? We're going to pay off the debt with tariffs. Do you remember this promise? Do you remember this? Donald Trump telling you, we're going to make so much money, we're going to be able to send you checks, refunds. Tariff checks. He promised those. Those didn't come. What about, we need to take over Greenland. What about that? What happened to taking over Greenland because it's a requirement for national security? Was that what? Were you just blowing smoke up our asses? Sounds like it. What happened to capping interest rates on credit cards? You remember this one? He was going to cap credit cards, 10% maximum interest rate on credit cards. Do you remember that one? I remember that one. It only lasted like a week, but this is how we're going to help Americans. We're going to cap interest rates. It doesn't matter that he doesn't have the power to do it, but that was a promise that happened. What happened to medications being 600, 700, 800% markdowns, 1500% cheaper, which is not how percentages work. Doesn't work like that. You know, you can only decrease things by 100% and then it becomes free. 4, 5, 600% is not a thing. It's a thing if you're going up, if you're increasing, but not if you're decreasing. You can only decrease from 100% to 100%, and then it's all gone. But medications aren't cheaper, are they? What happened to $2 gas? He promised us $2 gas. $2 gas. Remember when he promised us, when they promised us, we're going to release the Epstein files? They released 3 million of the 6 million, and they didn't even do that right. They passed a law saying that they would do it. They had 30 days to comply. That was 6 months ago. Still haven't done it. Remember, but do you remember cheaper groceries on day one? Do you remember the cheaper groceries on day one? We're going to bring down the price of groceries. Nope. Doesn't matter that you can't do that. And then he ended all these wars, right? Remember how he ended the Ukraine-Russia conflict in the first 24 hours? You don't, because it didn't happen. Because they are still fighting. And for the record, Ukraine has been winning that war for the last 18 months. Europe deserves a lot of credit for backing them. And Ukrainian ingenuity is winning that war with the backing of Europe. Not the backing of the United States, because Donald Trump, you know, he's in the bag for old Putin. You remember how the ballroom was going to be privately funded, entirely privately funded? It was a gift. He said it was a gift. It's a gift to America from me and from all the corporations who donated to it. And now they need $1 billion in taxpayer money to finish their ballroom. The ballroom that at first was $100 million, and then it was $200 million, and then it was $250 million, then it was $300 million, and then it was $400 million. But it was all paid for all the way along the line. And then suddenly it's $1.4 billion, and we have to pony up $1 billion of it. And what was the point of the Iran war? And now we've got to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. It was open before you started bombing. See, this person who is in charge and making these decisions is completely unqualified and doesn't care. He said it. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the financial situations of Americans. He doesn't care. He says it out loud. He doesn't hide from these things. He doesn't care about any of us. And that makes him unfit for the office that he holds. And therefore, the real failure is in the Congress, who could, at any point, stop this madness. But nope. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, they're jokes. Jokes. They don't see the writing on the wall in that this only ends one of two ways. Either the American experiment in a multicultural, multiracial democracy ends, and we become a dictatorship run by Donald Trump and his chosen. Or a lot of people who have abetted this evil are going to end up being held accountable for it. A lot of people are going to go to prison. One of two things is going to happen. There are 340, roughly, million Americans. You think we're going to be cool with a king? Especially one who is crazy. Especially one who throws parties for himself and builds giant monstrosities with his name on him because he can't not be the center of attention. See the new $250 bill. He can't not be the center of attention. Everyone must pay attention to me and how great I am. Meanwhile, you can't afford your rent. You can't afford a visit to the doctor. You can't afford to put gas in your gas tank. You can't afford to put food on the table. But the Mad King gets to throw giant parties in his name in his beautiful new ballroom on the south lawn of the White House. He gets to have a great American state fair. He gets to build the Triumph Arch. The triumph of Trump. He wants to put his face on Mount Rushmore. He wants to put his face on your currency. They've designed a special coin to commemorate Donald Trump as the president on the 250th birthday of America. He wants you to know he is responsible for everything except your pain, which he doesn't care about. See, you're right to be angry. And if you're angry at the 1%, the billionaires who stay quiet, the multimillionaires who are super happy with their tax cuts, who are super happy that the government is staying out of their business so that they can continue to rob Americans blind and abuse a system that's supposed to help us all. If you're mad at that 1%, congratulations. You put your thumb on the people who are actually screwing us all. Be mad at the right 1%. That's what I'm saying this week. Be mad at the right 1%. All right? That being said, I'm done for the day. I'd like to come back and try this again on Friday. I think I will. Maybe even before then. Maybe Thursday. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the primaries. That's interesting. Of course, it takes California for fucking ever to count all these ballots, which is weird. I don't know why it takes so long, but they make sure that they get the counts right, and it takes a long time. I'll be back before you know it. Before I leave, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being on this journey with me, for listening to me, for hearing this voice and saying, you know what? That crazy person has a few really good points. And I try, okay? I know that I'm putting words in your mouth, but if you've listened this long, you have to agree with at least some of this. I appreciate you. I will be back very soon. I'm not taking another week off, so you can disabuse yourself of that right now. You're going to be stuck with more of this. And I guess that's it. Be good humans, okay? Be good humans. Be kind. Even to people you don't like. And I know that is hard to do sometimes. But it's what makes us good people. It's what makes you, it's how you know you're doing the right thing. When you can be kind even to people that you don't agree with. I'll be back before you know it. All right? Be good humans. Love you.